Hello everybody, welcome to Sir Chua's Accounting Lessons PH, and this is Discussion 10, Property, Plant and Equipment Part 3, and we will be talking about depreciation and depletion. At the end of the video, you should be able to define depreciation and depletion, explain the different methods of asset cost allocation, and calculate depreciation and depletion using different methods. Before anything else, please like, share, and subscribe to Sir Chua's Accounting Lessons PH and hit the notification bell button to alert you of the latest video lessons. For all of your questions, comments, and suggestions, please put them down in the comment section below. And for webinar and speakership invites, please send me a message at kevintroy.chua1994@gmail.com. Thank you very much for your utmost support for Sir Chua's Accounting Lessons PH, and may these videos continue to help students in their online learning and academic development. May these videos continue to help teachers in enhancing their lesson plans and teaching methodologies. Thank you for trusting Sir Chua's Accounting Lessons PH as your online learning partner. Let's start. In the last lesson, we discussed about the different modes of acquisition and borrowing costs. And now that we already know how to compute for the amount of cost that will be reported as property, plant, and equipment, and we are now using, syempre, yung ating PPE, it's time now to compute for depreciation. So let's talk about depreciation. Depreciation is the systematic allocation of the asset's depreciable amount over its useful life. Siyempre po, ang ating pong mga assets ay habang ginagamit po natin yan through time, naluluma, nasisira, nawawasak, or kinakalawang, no? But we don't have a very accurate way to compute for those kalawang, to compute for those pagkaluma, no? So in accounting, we allow some sort of estimation in order for us to know kung magkano po ba talaga i-allocate yung cost na yon na affected yung ating asset. Okay? And the thing that we do in accounting is what we call computing for depreciation. It is a systematic allocation. So when we say systematic allocation, it's really a standardized way on how we will be able to compute for the proper amount of depreciation depending on the needs or the circumstances of the company. Okay. Always remember that depreciation is part of manufacturing overhead or the indirect cost of a manufacturing company when the property, plant, and equipment is used in relation to the production of goods. So basically what happens is that the depreciation of the machines that are being used to produce a company product is part of product cost on a manufacturing perspective. Okay? However, it will be part of operating expenses in any case that the property, plant, and equipment is used for administrative purposes. Nasa opisina, yung ating mga copiers and machines, diba? Yan, dinidepreciate natin yan, yung mga computer sets natin, no? When it's used for administrative purposes, it's part of operating expense. But if the PPE is used in the production of goods, then it's part of your product cost and part of your manufacturing overhead. Okay, so when do we depreciate assets? Okay, depreciation starts when the asset is available for use and stops when an asset is derecognized. Sir, once available for use na yung asset, i-depreciate na natin, hindi po sa time na ginagamit na natin siya. Yes po, ganun po yon. When the asset is available for use, kahit hindi mo pa siya ginagamit, depreciation will already be recorded and we start computing for depreciation. Bakit? Yung mismong hindi mo paggamit sa kanya, syempre umaandar yung panahon, naluluma yan eh, 'di ba? Yung mismong hindi mo paggamit sa kanya ay rason na ng depreciation. Okay? So always remember that when the asset is already available for use, we start computing for depreciation, and we stop it when the asset is derecognized. When we say derecognized, it's not already part of the asset section of your statement of financial position. Okay? Now, in any case that an asset is classified as held for sale, ang sabi po ng standard about non-current assets held for sale and discontinued operations, once an asset is classified as held for sale, stop po tayo ng pagko-compute ng depreciation. Kasi po, ang non-current assets held for sale ay hindi na po non-current asset. Okay? So, we need to stop the depreciation for that. Okay, so what are the items that we need to consider in depreciation? First is yung ating pong useful life, which is the period of time over which the asset is expected to be used by the entity. So, gaano po ba katagal natin ine-expect na magbe-benefit tayo from the use of that PPE? Now, in any case, na hindi po tayo nagre-rely sa kanyang period of time or number of years na useful siya sa atin, sa company, it may also refer to the number of hours it is expected to work. No? Ilang hours siya magwo-work for its whole lifetime. Or if not the number of hours, then how many units can it produce? Okay, so those are the items that we need to consider in the useful life of an asset. Residual value is the amount expected to be recovered by an entity after the asset's useful life. So in any case that the entity is expecting an amount to be recovered after the life of the asset, then we have that what we call as residual value or salvage value. And then depreciable amount is the amount that is being subject to depreciation. So yung kinokomputan po natin ng depreciation is the asset's depreciable amount. It is the difference between the asset cost and residual value. Tinatanggal po natin ang residual value kasi the residual value itself is the amount that will be recovered by an entity at the end of the life of the asset. So basically, residual value is not subject to depreciation. So we deduct the amount of residual value to the asset cost to get your depreciable amount. So what amount shall be presented in the FS? Ganito po, kung magkano po yung asset mo na cost, i-deduct po natin yung ating accumulated depreciation, and that is the carrying value of your asset at the end of the period. Later on in our slides, ipepresent po natin kung paano po mag-compute ng accumulated depreciation, carrying value at the end of the period, and syempre po, yung nire-report po natin na depreciation expense. Okay, so we have different depreciation methods. The first one is straight line method. Kasama na rin po dyan sa straight line method yung composite and group method. So later, we will be discussing that. Ano po ba yung composite and group method na yan? But most of you who took senior high school accounting and basic accounting in their earlier years in accountancy, I know that you are already familiar with the straight line method. Okay, but now we will be dealing with other depreciation methods in intermediate accounting. So another one is we will depreciate the asset based on its service hours, kung ilang hours po siya usable at its lifetime. Then we also have the depreciation based on output, kung ilang pong units ay kaya niyang ma-produce during its lifetime. And then we also have the SYD or the sum of the years digit method. Some of you already learned SYD in your conceptual framework and accounting standards, I suppose. And then the declining balance method and the double declining balance method. And to represent all of these methods, we will have one main problem. So isang problem lang po yung gagamitin natin to discuss all of those depreciation methods that I mentioned earlier. An entity purchased an asset on year 1 amounting to 500,000. So the asset cost in this problem is 500,000. The residual value amounts to 50,000. So the amount that is recoverable after the use of the asset after 5 years is 50,000. Nabanggit ko na, the useful life of the asset is 5 years. Now, we have other information. Kung titignan daw po natin yung number of hours na useful yung asset for 5 years, it's 50,000 hours for the whole 5 years, which is being represented each year as 12,000, 11,000, 10,000, 9,000, and 8,000 hours for the whole 5 years. And then in any case naman po, natitignan po natin yung number of units na kaya niyang i-produce. We have 35,000, 34,000, 33,000, 32,000, and 31,000 units for a total of 165,000 units na kaya pong i-produce nung ating PPE. Kung ano man pong asset yan. Hindi ko na in-specify kasi ang punto natin dito, matuto kayo mag-compute ng depreciation. Okay? Now, the requirement is to calculate all depreciation expense, accumulated depreciation, and asset carrying values for all 5 years, years 1 to 5. So we are to calculate all of the depreciation expense, accumulated depreciation, and asset carrying values for years 1 to 5. Okay, let's start. So let's first discuss straight line method. In straight line method, this is the first thing that you need to do. So the asset cost of 500,000 Ide-deduct po natin yung residual value ng asset na 50,000 and we will get the depreciable amount, yung amount na subject sa depreciation, which is 450,000. And then we divide it by the useful life of the asset na 5 years. Automatically, yun na po yung depreciation natin every year, 90,000. Marunong na kayo niyang straight line method kasi that has been taught to you in basic accounting, in senior high school. So, I think we have no problem here. Now, let's compute for the accumulated depreciation and carrying value of the asset every year. Okay, so we'll be preparing a table like this. The first column, or rather the second column, is depreciation expense, and then this one is your accumulated depreciation and your carrying amount. Now, at the start, syempre pagka-purchase mo ng asset, it's 500,000. So, lista na natin every year na ang ating depreciation is 90,000, 90,000, 90,000, 90,000, 90,000. Now, how do we express accumulated depreciation? Always remember that depreciation expense is a nominal account. It's being closed every year. So, kung magkano man po yung depreciation na i-report mo for year 1, iba na po siya sa year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5. Although, pare-pareho siyang 90,000. But what I'm trying to say is, hindi mo i-add si 90 for another 90 to percent depreciation expense next year for a total of 180,000. Hindi po ganun yun. Kasi nominal account po ang depreciation expense. Dahil expense account yan. But, accumulated depreciation po is a real account. It is a contra-asset account na minaminus po natin sa asset cost para makuha si carrying amount. Pag sinabi po natin accumulated, in Tagalog, naiipon, nag-accumulate, naiipon. Okay? So, magkano po yung naiipong depreciation, doon na po natin gagawin na dahil real account siya. At the end of first year, ang depreciation natin, 90. So, pagdating ng second year na nag-depreciate ka na naman ng another 90,000, by year 2, ang accumulated depreciation mo na 180,000. Then, add another 90,000, and that's your 270,000. Add another 90,000, and that's your 360,000. And add another 90,000, and that is your 450,000. Okay, now, remember that the carrying amount of the asset is your asset cost minus accumulated depreciation. Okay, so if your asset cost is 500,000, at the end of first year, i-deduct po natin si accumulated depreciation. The carrying amount of the asset at the end of the first year is 410,000. Now, for second year, if the cost of the asset is 500,000, we simply deduct the accumulated depreciation for second year of 180,000. That is your carrying amount of 320,000. And dire-diretso lang po, ganun lang po. So 500 minus 270, 230, 500 minus 360, 140. And then 500 minus 450, 50,000. Ngayon pansinin nyo, di ba we have a residual value of 50,000? Ano nga po uli ang concept ng residual value? It is the amount recoverable in the asset at the end of its useful life. So you know that your depreciation calculation is correct when the carrying amount of the asset at the end of the useful life of the asset is equal to the residual value. As you can see, the residual value is 50,000 and the carrying amount at the end of year 5 is 50,000. Okay? Kasi yan po yung marirecover natin sa asset at the end of 5 years. O ngayon, tatanungin kayo ng teacher nyo kasi multiple choice or supplied the answer yung exam. How much is the depreciation expense on December 31, year 2? Ang sagot, 90,000. How much is the balance of accumulated depreciation on December 31, year 3? Di 270,000. How much is the carrying amount of the asset on December 31, year 4? So it's just your 500,000 minus the accumulated depreciation of 360,000 for year 4. Your carrying amount of the asset at the end of year 4 is 140,000. Okay? So you just use the table for you to be guided properly on the amounts that you will be answering in your multiple choice exams. But basically, exams do not ask you the whole 5 years. Usually, it just asks you the first year or the second year. Madalang na yung third year, okay? Except na lang if the problem is comprehensive and then nagkakaroon ng changes in depreciation method, which we will be discussing in the next videos pa. So, yun. Baka po mag-compute din kayo ng buong 5 years. At least you know how to compute the whole 5 years with the use of this table. Now, what if the asset was purchased on April 1, year 1? Yung pinakita ko po kasi sa inyo ay annual na talagang, for example, ang asset ay binili ng January 1. Okay? Kaso, in reality and in actual practice, wala pong bumibili ng property, plant, and equipment. Walang nag-a-acquire ng PPE habang tayo ay nag-Happy New Year, di ba? In actual business operations, binibili po natin ang property, plant, and equipment. We acquire PPE when the time that we need it, di ba? And madalang po talaga na, when the need arises, at madalang naman siguro na bibilin mo yung asset at the very start of talagang January 1. So, what if kalagitnaan ng taon tayo bumili ng PPE? Gagawa ka ngayon ng table na ganito. Ayan. Sir, ba't umabot ng year 6? 5 years lang yung asset, ha? O, sandali lang. I-explain natin yan. Okay. Okay, gagawa ka po ng dalawang table. First one is yung January 1 to March 31. Splitin mo dun sa April 1 kung kailan mo binili yung asset. So, meron tayong splitting of year, isang 3/12, 3 months over 12 months, at saka 9 months over 12 months. Okay? Sige po. So, ganito gagawin natin. In year 1, hindi po tayo magde-depreciate ng January 1 because binili ang asset ng April 1. Sabi po natin, the asset will be depreciated when it is available for use. So, when the asset is purchased on April 1, the depreciation will start on April 1. Okay. Now, by year 1, April 1 mo lang siya binili, di ba? So, our depreciation for year 1 will just start in April. April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. And that is 9 months. So, what you will be doing is you will be multiplying yung ating annual depreciation na na-compute kanina, which is 90,000 multiplied by 9/12. Ang lalabas po si 67,500. So, by year 1, ang depreciation expense mo na lang is 67,500. Hindi po yung buong 90,000 kasi po 9 months lang siyang nasa atin for the year 1. What will happen, sir, on year 2? Okay, ganito po. Remember, meron sa first year ng asset na binili natin siya yung 90,000. Meron pa tayong hindi na-recognize na 3 months dun sa pinakauna nating depreciation. So, 90,000 multiplied by 3/12, ito po yung natira for the first year of the asset na 22,500. Pero syempre, aandar po yung pangalawang taon ng asset, kaya i-multiply mo uli si 90,000 sa 9/12 to get 67,500. But in reality, look at what happens. 22,500 for January 1 to March 31 at 67,500 for April 1 to December 31, it would still give you 90,000. 90,000 not because kasi isang taon lang naman, sige, 90,000 na. Pwede mong sabihin ganun, pero mali yung konsepto kung paano mo nakuha yung 90,000. Ang annual depreciation lang naman talaga ng straight line method, 90,000. So, syempre, pag umaandar na yung buong taon, di 90,000 na yan. Pwede mong sabihin ganun, but the concept is incorrect. The correct way to explain it is that yung natira po natin from the first year of depreciation na hindi pa natin nare-recognize is the 3 months of January 1 to March 31 na 22,500 at yung 67,500 for the second year na nung asset na 9/12. Kaya po siya naging 90,000. Okay? Ganon po yun i-explain, ha. Hindi po dahil basta umandar lang yung isang taon 90,000 na siya. Now, if you will be looking deeper, aabot po tayo ng year 6 kasi meron po tayong pinakahuling year ng asset na yung huling 3 months hindi pa nare-recognize. So, by year 6, meron pa po tayong depreciation na 22,500. Pero same lang po yung ating proseso sa pagko-compute ng accumulated depreciation. So, at the end of year 1, your depreciation expense is 67,500 and then your accumulated depreciation is 67,500. So, your carrying amount is 500,000 minus 67,500, 432,500. Tapos ganoon na po. Sa accumulated depreciation, add mo lang si 90, then you get this, add another 90, then you get this, another 90, then you get this. And then 500,000 less these accumulated depreciation amounts, then that will be your carrying amount. At ganun pa rin po, look kung anong nangyari. Yung residual value po natin is marirecover pa rin natin at the end of the useful life of the asset, 50,000. Tatanungin kayo ng teacher nyo, how much is the depreciation expense on December 31, year 1? Ang sagot, 67,500. How much is the accumulated depreciation to be reported on December 31, year 2? Ang sagot, 157,500. How much is the carrying amount of the asset on December 31, year 3? Asset cost minus accumulated depreciation for year 3, 252,500. Di ba madali lang ang accounting? Pinahihirapan niyo yung sarili niyo. Dali-dali lang ng accounting. Joke lang. Kaya niyo yan. Kaya niyo yan. Okay? So, we're done with straight line method. Let's now depreciate based on useful hours. Okay, so ganito po ang analysis natin dyan. Same procedure for the first steps. The asset cost minus the residual value, the depreciable amount of the asset is 450,000. This is the amount subject to depreciation. At the whole life of the asset, siya daw po ay useful for 50,000 hours. So, if the depreciable amount is 450,000 and 50,000 hours po natin siya magagamit for the whole life niya, then the depreciation rate per hour is 9 pesos per hour. Ang gagawin nyo po, ganito lang. Same table, pero ang analysis na po natin ganito. Ilang hours daw po siya nagamit nung year 1? 12,000. Multiply mo sa 9 pesos per hour na depreciation niya. Yun na po yung depreciation for that year. 108,000. Same thing that we will be doing for year 2, 3, 4, and 5. Ilang hours po siyang nagamit sa year 2? 11,000. Times 9 per hour, 99,000. Ilang hours po siyang nagamit nung year 3? 10,000. Times 9, 90,000. Yun na po yung depreciation expense niya. Then, same methodology, how to get the accumulated depreciation. Add nyo lang lahat ng depreciation every year. Pag carrying amount naman po, asset cost minus accumulated depreciation. Mauuwi pa rin po tayo sa kanyang residual value at the end of the year, 50,000. How much is the depreciation expense on December 31, year 2? Di 11,000 hours po siyang nagamit nung year 2 times 9 per hour, 99,000. Minsan po kasi you need to learn how to answer the problem without doing this table para mas mabilis. So, ano po ang technique natin sa depreciation expense? Pag tinanong kayo ng depreciation expense under useful hours na method, di hanapin nyo lang kung ilang hours siyang nagamit nung taon na yon, i-multiply mo dun sa depreciation rate per hour. Mabilisan na yon. So, pag tinanong ka ng teacher mo, how much is the depreciation expense at the end of year 4? O di hanapin mo lang kung ilang hours mo siya nagamit nung year 4, 9,000 hours. Times 9, automatic sagot, 81,000. Ang problema mo, pag tinanong ka na ng teacher mo na accumulated depreciation, tapos year 5, iisa-isahin mo yan. Diba? To get this. Okay? Then, you will arrive at the same amount of the carrying amount at the end of the year, which is equal to the useful life, 50,000. How much is the carrying amount of the asset on December 31, year 4? 122,000. O, diba? Easy lang. O, sige, next tayo. Depreciation based on output units. Same perspective, same methodology. Ganun din. The asset cost of 500,000, ima-minus po natin yung residual value na 50,000. Your depreciable amount is 450,000. I-divide mo po sa number of units na kaya niyang gawin in its whole life. 165,000. The depreciation rate per unit is 2.73. So, ang gagawin mo lang po, kung ilang libong units yung nagawa mo in each year, multiply mo lang po sa depreciation rate per unit. Ganun lang din po. So, 35,000 times 2.73, 95,454.55. Baka po magkakaiba tayo ng decimals and amounts because ako po ay naka-Microsoft Excel nung ginagawa ko ito. Baka kayo po ay nagdediretsong multiply ng 2.73. So, medyo magkakaroon po tayo ng pagkakaiba. But the process is still the same. So, ganun lang po. Pag tinanong po kayo ng depreciation expense, At the end of each year, you just simply look for the number of units na nagawa during that year, multiply nyo po sa depreciation per unit nung time na yun, okay? Which is 2.73. Same process for accumulated depreciation. Add mo lang lahat ng depreciation expense. Then, asset cost minus accumulated depreciation. That is the carrying amount of your asset at the end of each year. And you will still get 50,000, the residual value at the end of 5 years. Let's depreciate using the SYD method. So, to get the SYD, kung 5 years siya, i-add mo lang 5 plus 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1. Pag 7 years, 7 plus 6 plus 5 plus 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1. Pag 10 years, 10 plus 9 plus 8 plus 7 plus 6 plus 5 plus 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1. Pero may shortcut yun. Hanapin nyo na lang yung shortcut. Di ko ituturo dito. Okay. So, the step would just be your asset cost less the residual value, depreciable amount of 50,000. Yan po yung i-multiply natin sa ating fraction multipliers. Ano po yung multipliers natin? Ganyan. Okay. So, ganito po ang SYD. On the first year is you multiply 450,000 by 5 years over 15. By second year, 4 over 15. Third year, 3 over 15. Fourth year, 2 over 15. And fifth year, 1 over 15. Okay? And yun na po yung inyong depreciation expense at the end of each year. Same process for accumulated depreciation and getting the carrying amount. Okay? As you can see po, sa sum of the years digit method, mas malaki po ang nakukuha nating depreciation at the start of the year kesa po sa depreciation at the end of the year. Okay, now, what if the asset was purchased po on April 1, year 1? Ayan. So, lagyan po natin ng konting challenge. Paano kung SYD pero kalagitnaan ng taon binili? Gagawa ka rin po nung tinuro ko sa inyong table kanina. But before anything else, i-compute mo muna yung annual depreciation niya, like how we used to do it. Okay? So, ganun pa rin po. 450,000 times 5 over 15, 150,000. 450,000 times 4 over 15, 120,000. So on, so forth. Same process. Pero may ganito ka ng table ngayon. Ayan. So, same process kanina, i-splitin mo yung taon, January 1 to March 31, which represents 3 months, at saka April 1 to December 31, which represents 9 months. Nung first year of the asset, April 1 na siya nagamit. So, 9 months lang siyang nagamit nung year 1. Ang gagawin mo po, 150,000 times 9 over 12, 112,500. Then, yun na po yung depreciation expense mo for year 1. Pagdating mo ng year 2, ganito na siya. Meron ka pang natirang 3 over 12 dito sa 150,000, 3 months na hindi pa natin nare-recognize. So, 150,000 times 3 over 12, 37,500. Tapos, ready ka na papunta sa second year ng asset. So, dito na tayo sa 120,000 times 9 over 12, 90,000. Then, add them both. Your depreciation expense for year 2 is 127,500. Then, same procedure. May 3 months pa po na hindi na-recognize dito sa 120,000. Kaya, 120,000 times 3 over 12 ay 30,000. Tapos, start na nung third year naman ng asset, 90,000 times 9 over 12, 67,500. Add nyo lang po yung dalawa, that's your depreciation expense, and you just continue the process. Yun nga lang po, sa pinakahuli, yung 30,000, mayroong hindi pa marirecognize na 3 months, kaya po nagkaroon ng pinakahuli pang year 6 na 3 months, which represents 7,500. Okay, so pag alam nyo na pong computein lahat ng depreciation na yan, depreciation expense, yun na rin po yung magiging table nyo. Okay, so this is the depreciation expense for each year. Then you just add everything to get your accumulated depreciation, and then asset cost minus accumulated depreciation is your carrying amount. And mauuwi ka pa rin po dun sa dun sa residual value nung asset. Declining balance method, the formula for that is the depreciation rate is equals to 1 minus the nth root of the quotient between the residual value and the cost of the asset. So, in our problem, substitute nyo lang 1 minus ano po yung n, yung number of years, useful life. Fifth root of 50,000 divided by 500,000, your depreciation rate is 36.5 Pwede rin daw po yata kayong gumamit dyan ng table of logarithms pero hindi ako marunong nun. So, scientific calculator na lang ako dyan. Ang lumabas, 36.9%. Okay. Ganito po ang table niyan. Pero kung mapapansin nyo, minumultiply po siya sa mismong asset cost, hindi po sa depreciable amount. Okay? So, 500,000 times 36.9%, 184,500. Pero, pagdating po ng second year, ang basis na po natin ng depreciation is the carrying amount of the previous period. Pansinin nyo mabuti. At the end of year 1, your depreciation expense is 184,500. So, syempre, yun na rin po yung accumulated depreciation. Kasi first year ng asset. The carrying amount is 315,500. Yun po ngayon yung mabiging basis mo ng depreciation for year 2. 315,500 times 36.9%. Ito na po yung depreciation. Add mo na tong dalawa to get 300,919.5. 500,000 minus accumulated depreciation, yun na yung carrying amount. Yung carrying amount mo at the end of year 2 na 199,080.5, yun naman po ang magiging basis ng depreciation mo for year 3. And so on, so forth. Tingnan nyo mabuti. 125,619.8. O, yun na yung pang year 4. 79,266.09. Yun na yung pang year 5. Okay? Kaya siya tinawag na declining balance method ay nagde-decline po yung basis natin ng depreciation at nagde-decline yung mismo nating depreciation expense. Yung mga SYD po natin tsaka declining balance, ang gusto po kasi nilang puntuhin, mas productive ang asset pag bago siya. At pag mas luma yung asset, mas lalo siyang di productive. So, parang ang nasa isip natin is, pag bago yung asset, mas productive siya, so mas nagde-depreciate siya. Pag luma yung asset, hindi na siya ganong productive, hindi na siya ganong nagde-depreciate. So, mas maliit na yung depreciation daw habang naluluma yung asset. Depende sa trip ng company kung ano applicable sa kanila. Okay? Ganun yun. Pag double declining balance method naman po, prepare mo muna yung percentages natin. If the full asset cost is represented by 100% and the life of the asset is 5 years, each year, the asset is being depreciated by 20%. Multiply nyo lang by 2 or 200%, doblehin mo yung straight line rate, yun na yung double declining balance rate. Okay, 40%. So, ganito po. Same process din po, hindi po siya sa depreciable amount, kino-consider, diretso sa asset cost, 500,000 times 40%, 200,000. Yun na rin po yung accumulated depreciation. And then, 500,000 minus accumulated depreciation, that is your carrying amount. Same procedure. Kung ano yung carrying amount ng previous period, that will be your basis for the depreciation for the next year. Then, you multiply it to the same rate, 40%. Okay, so depreciation for the end of year 2, 120,000, add 200,000, 320,000. Okay? Tapos 500,000 minus accumulated depreciation, 180,000, then that's the thing that you will be using for the depreciation for year 3. And ngayon po, ang kailangan nyo lang pong isipin dyan, tatandaan nyo, pag DDB, double declining balance method, pag end of year 5 po is kung ano po yung carrying amount ng year 4, ma-minus nyo na lang po yung residual value. Yun na po yung depreciation expense for the last year of the asset. Para ma-recover nyo pa rin yung 50,000. Okay? Again, pag double declining balance method, yung pinakahuling year ng asset, mina-minus na lang po natin yung carrying amount of the asset in the previous period dun sa residual value. Yun na po yung depreciation expense for the last year of the asset so that we can still recover yung 50,000 na residual value. Napakadali lamang ng accounting, hindi ba mga kapatid? Okay. Paano naman po yung tinatawag nating composite and group method? Ginagamitan lang naman din po natin to ng technique on straight line method but naka-composite na siya or naka-group na siya. Ano nga ba yun? Okay? When companies have numerous assets, marami silang ginagamit na property, plant, and equipment. It will be difficult for them to calculate asset depreciation one by one. Mahirap nga naman po isa-isahin yun. So, ang pwedeng gawin ng company para mas efficient is they can apply either the composite method and the group method. When can we say that we are using composite method and when can we say that we are using group method? Actually, the manner of computation is just the same. Magkaiba lang ng tawag depende sa sitwasyon. If the items are dissimilar in nature pero depreciated as one, ang tawag doon composite method. But if the items are similar in nature and depreciated as one, group method. So pag dissimilar in nature, pinagsama-sama mong i-depreciate as one. Like magkakaiba, automobile, machinery, equipment, pero depreciated as one. Composite method tawag doon. Pero pag group method, automobile 1, automobile 2, automobile 3, dinepreciate mo as one, ang tawag doon group method. It's based on the dissimilarity or the similarity of the assets, but the process is the same. So for example, meron po tayong asset 1, asset 2, asset 3. Pag composite method, kunyari ito ay automobile, equipment, machinery. Pag group method, ito ay automobile 1, automobile 2, automobile 3. Ganun lang yon, okay? Ito po yung cost. So binigay sa inyo in the residual value. So automatically, alam nyo na yan, yung depreciable amount, ma-minus nyo lang po si cost tsaka si residual value. Then, apply nyo po yung straight line depreciation by dividing the depreciable amount to its useful life. So, for 50,000 divided by 9, that's 50,000. 80,000 divided by 8, that's 10,000. And 40,000 divided by 4, that's 10,000. Then, get the totals po ng lahat. Total cost, total residual value, total depreciable amount, tsaka total annual depreciation. Tinanong kayo ngayon sa problem, how many years is being represented by the composite life of the asset? Yung depreciable amount po natin na 570,000, which is subject to depreciation, ang nakuha nyo daw pong depreciation sa kanya annually is 70,000. So, the composite life of the asset is just the quotient of this two, 8.14 years. Ano naman po yung composite rate? Kung ang ating pong total depreciation is 70,000, divide nyo lang po sa total cost na 650,000, our composite depreciation rate is 10.77. So, ganito po pag composite life. Depreciable amount divided by annual depreciation. Tapos, pag composite rate, annual depreciation divided by cost. Again, pagka po composite life, depreciable amount divided by annual depreciation. Pag composite rate, annual depreciation divided by the cost of the asset. O, diba? Easy lang. Let's now move on to wasting assets. Some companies are into extraction of mineral resources. Some of them are into natural resources. Kaya po, kailangan po natin ng wasting assets po ang tawag doon. Okay. Wasting assets or natural resources are assets held by an entity of economic value produced by nature. Nature po ang may bigay sa atin ng ating wasting assets. Kaya po siya tinawag na wasting assets kasi pag nagamit mo na, hindi mo na mapapalitan. Okay? Oil and gas reserves and mineral deposits. Now, the cost of wasting assets po is represented by 4 costs. Una, acquisition cost, the price paid for the acquisition of the property that holds the natural resource. So, kung magkano man po yung binayad natin to acquire the property, kung nasan po yung natural resources, that's your acquisition cost. Pero syempre, maghahanap ka muna, di ba? Okay? So, in order for you na maghanap ng mga mineral resources na pwede mong i-extract, gagastos ka for exploration. Ang tawag po doon, exploration cost. Okay? And then, yung mismong extraction po natin ng natural resources, ang tawag po doon, development cost. And in order for you to restore the property to its original condition, i-restore mo siya. So, may restoration cost po tayo. Kung sa property, plant, and equipment, tayo po ay may depreciation, sa ating pong mga wasting assets, meron naman po tayong tinatawag na depletion. So, let's try po yung tinatawag nating depletion. For example, we have a wasting assets with an acquisition cost of 4 million, exploration of 1 million, development of 6 million, tsaka restoration of 4 million, for a total wasting asset cost of 15 million pesos. Let's say, for example, ang may extract daw po natin sa kanya is 7,500,000 units. So, parang yung kanina lang to sa ating units of output method, the total cost of the wasting assets, which is 15 million, divided by kung ilang units yung kaya nating i-extract sa kanya, which is 7,500,000, that is your depletion rate per unit. For example, during the year, 300,000 po yung na-extract natin dun sa iyong wasting assets. So, magkano ang depletion po natin at the end of the period? You simply multiply the number of units you extracted multiplied by the depletion rate per unit. Your depletion for the year is 600,000. O, diba? Easy lang. Okay, so our next lesson would be about the subsequent measurement of property, plant, and equipment. Marunong na kayong mag-compute ng cost of acquisition, record them in the accounting records, at marunong na rin kayong mag-compute ng depreciation at carrying value ng asset. Ang tanong, magkano nyo siya i-represent sa statement of financial position? That is our next lesson, the subsequent measurement of property, plant, and equipment. Again, thank you very much, and please like, share, and subscribe to Sir Chua's Accounting Lessons PH, and hit the notification bell button to alert you of the latest video lessons. For all of your questions, comments, and suggestions, please put them down in the comment section below, and for webinar and speakership invites, please send me a message at kevintroy.chua1994@gmail.com. This has been Sir Chua's Accounting Lessons PH College Edition. To God be all the glory, honor, and praise. Thank you and have a great day. 사랑해요. 그렇게 나만을